Hey everyone, and welcome. If you're gearing up for your competitive exams, you know just how crucial a solid grasp of geography is. So today, we're going to build a really detailed mental map of South America, piece by piece. Think of this as a powerful tool to give you a serious edge in your preparation.
So, here's our game plan for tackling this huge continent. We're going to start with its physical foundations, the mountains and the highlands. Then we'll follow the paths of its incredible rivers, check out its wild mix of climates, dig into its rich resources, and finally, we'll tour its main economic hubs.
All right, let's start with the very bones of the continent. To really get South America, you first have to understand the massive geological forces that have shaped it. From those sharp young peaks of the Andes out west to the ancient weathered highlands in the east.
Okay, so the absolute centerpiece of South America's physical map is the Andes Mountains. They create this massive, unbroken chain, a colossal backbone really, stretching more than 7,000 kilometers all the way down the continent's western edge. And this isn't just some mountain range, it's the single most dominant feature, shaping everything from weather patterns to how life itself flows across the land.
Now, what's so interesting is that the Andes aren't just one solid wall. Up in the north, they actually split into 3 separate ranges or cordilleras, dotted with huge volcanoes like Mount Cotopaxi. Then as you move into the central part, the range widens out to create this high-altitude Bolivian plateau, a pretty unique landscape that holds Lake Titicaca. And on the western side, well, those tall mountains create a massive rain shadow, blocking all the moisture from the Pacific and creating the Atacama Desert, literally the driest place on Earth.
Okay, let's hop over to the east. Separated by that giant Amazon basin, we find 2 really old highland systems. Up north, you've got the Guayana Highlands. Think ancient plateaus, hiding gold and diamonds, and home to the incredible Angel Falls. Then down south, you have the Brazilian Highlands, which is this huge lava plateau just packed with iron and gold, especially in that Minas Gerais region. It also includes the Mato Grosso Plateau, which is a major center for cattle ranching.
So where does all the water from those mountains and highlands go? Well, it flows down to become the continent's lifeblood. These massive river systems, fed by Andean snowmelt and highland springs, carve up the landscape, creating fertile plains and acting as the main highways for trade and people.
Now listen, for any exam, you absolutely have to know these 3 main river systems. They're non-negotiable. You've got the Orinoco up north, the colossal Amazon in the middle, and the Paraná-Paraguay system down south. Together, these 3 drain most of the continent.
So let's zoom in on the first 2. The Orinoco, which flows through Venezuela, is basically all about oil. That country's huge petroleum reserves are found there, making it the engine of their economy. The Amazon, though, well, that's a global heavyweight. It's the biggest river in the world by the sheer volume of water, and it feeds that immense rainforest we call the lungs of the world. It's a hotspot for biodiversity and resources like rubber. But it's also facing this huge threat of deforestation, mostly to clear land for cattle ranching.
The Paraná-Paraguay system has this really interesting split personality. Its upper part, the Alto Paraná, is all rapids and waterfalls, which makes it a perfect powerhouse for generating hydroelectricity. But as it flows south, it completely transforms into this wide, calm river system that's crucial for irrigating the wheat fields of the Pampas before it finally flows into that huge Rio de la Plata estuary.
Okay, so we've built the physical frame and traced the rivers. Now you can see how they come together to create this incredible mosaic of ecosystems. It's the dance between the mountains, ocean currents, and latitude that gives us everything from the world's wettest rainforests to its driest deserts.
This table breaks it all down perfectly. Up top, you've got the selvas. That's the equatorial rainforests in the Amazon. Now, for your exams, it is critical to know the difference between the 2 grasslands. The llanos are tropical savannas north of the Amazon, while the pampas are the fertile, temperate grasslands to the south, perfect for growing wheat. And finally, the deserts, the scorching hot Atacama in the west and the cold, windy Patagonian desert in the south, both created by that Andes rain shadow.
So, when you have this much diversity in climate and vegetation, what do you get? Well, you get an absolutely staggering amount of natural wealth. So now we're going to dig into how these different places are used, focusing on key crops, the massive livestock industry, and the continent's vital mineral reserves.
Seriously, just think about your daily life. That coffee you had this morning, the chocolate bar you might have later, they have their roots right here. The tropical regions give us cacao, coffee, and sugarcane. The temperate pampas is one of the world's bread baskets, a huge producer of wheat. And get this, 2 of the most common foods on the planet, the potato and the tomato, were first grown high up in the Andes. Wild, right?
And we can't talk about agriculture without talking about cattle.
because the scale is just mind-boggling. Down in the pampas of Argentina and Uruguay, the whole industry is built around these massive commercial farms called estancias. These aren't just farms, they are the absolute economic and cultural heart of the region.
All right, let's switch gears from farms to mines. If there is one country and resource combination you have to burn into your memory, it is this. Chile is copper. It's one of the biggest producers on the planet, and the country's entire economy and even its identity are totally wrapped up in this one red metal.
To really get a sense of the scale of Chile's copper industry, just look at the Chuquicamata mine. It is a massive feat of engineering, one of the biggest man-made holes on Earth. This one mine is a powerful symbol of just how deep copper runs in the veins of the Chilean nation.
So, what about energy? When it comes to oil, two countries really dominate the conversation. Venezuela's economy is incredibly dependent on its huge petroleum reserves around Lake Maracaibo and in the Orinoco Belt. And then you have Brazil, the other big player, with major oil fields found near the mouth of the Amazon and in huge offshore deposits.
Okay, for our final piece of the puzzle, let's see how all this geography we've been talking about, the mountains, the rivers, the resources, has shaped where people actually live and work. We're going to explore the major cities that have grown into the industrial and financial powerhouses of South America. This is where it all comes together.
This table gives you a really clear snapshot of the continent's economic engines. You can see the specializations pretty clearly. São Paulo in Brazil is a manufacturing beast, especially for cars and airplanes. Buenos Aires, with its perfect coastal location, is the main gateway for all that agricultural wealth from the Pampas. And then you have cities like Rio, Santiago, and Caracas, which have become the financial nerve centers for their country.
And all of this brings us to one final, really crucial question. South America is a continent with just immense natural wealth, but it's also the guardian of globally vital ecosystems, especially the Amazon. So the biggest challenge for its future is this. How does it balance the need for economic growth with the urgent need to protect these environments that we can never get back? That's the question that will really define this continent's story for the rest of our lives.